Hi, this is Phil Taylor, and in this, the first of my guitar vlogs, I'd like to talk about economy of movement when playing. Basically economising on all your hand positions, finger movements, to make your playing smoother and more fluid. So for example, if I play something like this really simple chord progression. There I'm just using E minor, B minor, C, G, A, E minor, A, B, and then E minor, B minor, C, G, A, B, E minor, B7. And then what I'm trying to do is just not move my fingers too much over the fretboard and actually keep my fingers really close to the frets and the strings at all times. So going from the beginning, the E minor, going from E minor to B minor, make sure that when I change, my left hand fingers don't really come up the strings at all. They're almost just hovering just over and taking the shape of the chord before I'm even there at the chord. So going from E minor to B minor and then over to C. You notice my fingers are not really coming high off the strings and the frets at all. So then just staying really low down. And then B minor bar, keeping it really flat. And then C minor. So minimal movement. And that always works the best for me, trying to make sure that I use the smallest amount of movement possible with both hands. So in terms of the right hand, I'm always making sure that to skim the surface of all the strings, trying to use the minimum amount of movement possible to get the smoothest changes. So going from E minor to actually a fast stroke, even at a slow speed. The stroke itself needs to be fast, but just really skimming the surface of all 6 strings, so not a deep hooking kind of stroke. So just skimming the surface, nice and quick, and only just making contact with each string with the plectrum. So once again using the smallest possible movement to get a clean stroke. Then you can actually put a bit more power into it. And then same on B minor, keeping the stroke really low to the strings, just straight down vertically, keeping the pick horizontal with the strings, parallel with the string, 2 more times. And then to C, and then G, and etc. all through the chords. So for anything, the left hand is the most important thing, because of course you're keeping all the fingers really low to the strings. So just to run through the chords again, so E minor, then B minor, barring the 2nd fret. So with that one I always try and, I've almost like had the picture taken by my fingers beforehand, so I've already got the whole chord shape ready before I'm landing on the shape itself. So going, and then already ready. In fact, if anything, only like maybe a millimetre off each string between the changes with each finger, and then C. It's important with the bar to keep your first finger completely straight up as much as possible on the fret, so it's not going diagonal. So then we've got so the chords I'm using are E minor, then B minor barring on the 2nd fret, then C major open position, then G, then A major, then E minor, then A again, and barring B on the 2nd fret. Then you're playing 5 strings, then back to E minor, back to B minor bar, 2nd fret, C major, G, then A, B major, and E minor, and B7, which is barring on the 2nd fret also. Just 5 strings. So even before starting to play, your left hand thumb should be actually on the underside of the guitar. It should be ready so that when you play you can use as much finger length as possible over the top of the guitar neck. You want want to be basically elongating your fingers as much as you can to get more control over your chord playing. So basically your wrist should be quite deep, sort of far forwards underneath there, far forwards. Because a lot of people tend to have the habit of scrunching the palm or the wrist up into the edge of the neck, the bottom edge, and it's obviously much more awkward to play like that. So the wrist should ideally be far forwards and deep. Really high arched, rounded fingers. So you should be making basically a whole round curve from your sort of wrist through the palm of your hand, all the way through your hand and fingers, and curling your fingertips firmly down into their notes. So when you play a chord like E minor, it should look like that. So you can't see the thumb in front, and the fingers are nicely rounded over, curled into the notes. So playing a simple regression is going from E minor to So that's just going from E minor to A, trying to use as little movement as possible between the chords, and as little movement with the fingers. So, take it down. Almost not taking the fingers off the frets or the strings at all. It's just staying on the strings between the chords, and then just very smoothly transferring to the A shape. So basically getting rid of any unwanted stuff, any unwanted sounds. Keeping your fingers very tightly bunched together, making sure they're sort of heading towards the fret wire in the second fret, heading towards the third fret, but of course reaching that. And then the A, the three fingers need to be really tightly squeezed together, forming a nice, as much as you can, vertical line downwards. You will get some diagonal shape to it, but as much as you can, you're trying to keep it vertical looking down the chord.